The bounty hunter hype has started to calm down, so we can finally see the long-term impact on the price of so many PvP items, and this month we have one of the biggest updates in Oldskool Runescape that will change the price of so many items and no one's even talking about it. Plus, I'll also go through the completely different fates of the best weapons in Oldskool Runescape right now, as some of them crash in price whilst others reach new heights never seen before, and all because of the exact same update. But first, as always, there's a bond hidden within the video, and the first person to find it, timestamp it, and post a location with their username gets it. The trailer was sick, it's a ton of fun, new weapons, new armor, it was so good PVMers even tried it. This happens a lot with an update and artificially raises the price of some items, as it did with the AGS and Void Waker. You have to be really careful though buying items like this after the release, because it's common for them to crash not long after, which is exactly what's happened here, although they may well recover soon. The items that have actually been affected the most are cheap, good, solid items that are underappreciated. In Bounty Hunter, most players are going to die a lot, making items such as the cheapest Barrows armor, which offers really good protection without risking a lot, very, very popular. Dragon Boots have seen a large increase in price as well. There are two weapons that have done the best from this update, and it's not actually the AGS and Void Waker like you might think, but the whip and the dark bow. Again, if you're looking to invest in bounty hunter items, the meta seems to be good, cheap, reliable items. The whip will always be a very good weapon without costing too much, and the dark bow spec, when imbued, means both arrows hit at exactly the same time and offer a lot of KO potential, again at a fairly low price. There's also a very random item that's gone up quite a lot in price, and that's the anglerfish. Purely because of how many players are playing Bounty Hunter and how quick the fights are, people are just simply using far more of them. I would be a little wary of investing into the whip though, dark bow or anglerfish, because whilst they may go up more, it's now decent money to kill dark beasts, abbey demons, as well as catch an anglerfish. The more the price goes up, the more players will do those methods. So is this a good place to invest in? Well, I think short term it probably is, but I have a lot of doubts about Bounty Hunter items in the long term. If you take all of the reasons there is to play Bounty Hunter, then fast forward 12 months from now, who will be the ones actually playing it? And I can only really see the best PKs and some welfarers being here. The armor and the weapons only being available to be used in Bounty Hunter is the main problem in my opinion, and even within Bounty Hunter you have to risk a lot of GP to use them. As time goes by, the PVMers will leave and the casual PKs will stop making money, and probably lose money here. Casual PKs will then leave and the cycle continues until only the best are left fighting each other, as well as players trying their luck in welfare gear. Once you've tried the new weapons and gear and aren't making money, what is really going to keep you PKing here? Had they instead made the gear usable in the whole of the wilderness and added in some new tank gear that only requires a small amount of GP to use, all PKs would have a good reason to get all of the new gear, and every PVMer that uses the wilderness would also have a reason to stay a bounty hunter for the tank gear, which would have made it active for years to come. Hopefully they'll change it at some point, but for now they have an amazing game mode, but once the novelty wears off, once there's very little reason for most players to play, they just won't. And for that reason, these items going up in price might be a good short-term investment, but just be careful long-term as they're likely to come back down at some point. Next we have the biggest update of the year in terms of the economy, which will change the price of so many items within the game. Jagex have openly admitted that one of the aims of Forestry is to make at least 5 skills profitable and be an item sink for a lot of current items, raising the price in the process. But there's absolutely no hype at all around this update, understandably because this is Bounty Hunter. And this is Forestry. But if Jagex can actually pull off what they intend to do, it will change the game forever and send shockwaves through our entire economy like we've never seen before. So 3 months ago, Jagex announced their aims for Forestry.
Foresters, campfires and tea brewing are a couple of ways Forestry ties in with the wider game, but we'd like to do even better. We're keen to stimulate an economy around forestry, including meaningfully tying other skills into that ecosystem to allow all sorts of players to contribute to forestry, even without an axe in their hands. Forestry will require many different consumable items that can be carried in their forestry kits. These items could require new components obtained through Forestry, as well as existing items obtained elsewhere, and would be crafted by different production and gathering skills. We'd like these components and crafted items to be tradable, so players can participate in the economy in ways that suit their playstyle, and since the items will be consumable, they'll always be in demand.
These are all of the skills they plan to make good money trading with just with this one update. Since then, many forestry items have been going up in price, but to actually achieve their goals, this would require a monumental update. It's really difficult enough to make just one skill profitable, but if they do manage it, it would need one of the biggest updates Oldskool Runescape has ever seen, which would also come with some of the largest increases in prices ever, and it will blindside most players, providing of course Jagex get it right. There is some huge money to be made with this update, and as you know, I'll always give tips to you when I see them, so you can make money on them as well, but this is not as easy as 3 months ago when I said forestry items will go up in price. Because back then, Jagex announced the big update and even then told us the items, and it was all very simple. The rewards are bigger, but so is the risk. And for that reason, this is everything that has happened so far in Forestry, so you get a complete picture before making a decision. When they announced Forestry, they told us that there would be a process to create new items and it would have multiple steps. Each step of the creating process was tradable, so for example the first step uses a new currency or logs to create it. Players woodcutting can effectively keep making those and sell them on to other players who will do the next step of the process if they choose. That resulted in many log prices increasing, and in particular maple, redwood and willow, which are just particularly cheap for their level. You can then add an item that is crafted in forestry, we don't know exactly what that is just at the moment, before finally adding in an item from one of these 5 skills, the skills that they want to make profitable. So the prices of these items and the 5 skills have largely been unaffected because it's not quite clear yet if we will receive an item when skilling normally, or will instead just use your skill level on the previous item here just to simply create a new one. Finally, the most important part will make or break the skill, and this is where I think Jagex have been deliberately vague. The end product of forestry is a skill boost to forestry, farming and other skills. They also remove skilling prayers from Desert Treasure 2, which opens the door to potentially include those boosts in here in a slightly different way. Next, they gave us a bunch of items that will be used in this skill, and also what items are used to create them. Most of these items also went up in price obviously, but then Jagex announced forestry would be in 2 parts, and some of those items will be released in a few months' time instead of straight away on the release date. Even though they will still be in demand but just a little bit later in the year, this brought the price of many of those items back down to what they were. And finally, we found out in forestry that there will be tea brewing, which is very similar to herb lore and will produce production and gathering skill level boosts. So given everything that we know, it appears to me, and I could be wrong, it appears that they have decided that Desert Treasure 2 will be purely combat focused and forestry will get all of the skilling boosts. Getting +3, +5 or whatever it may be in a gathering skill will simply become the new meta, with a possibility that boosts that make resources last longer, for example, could be added in too. That's everything we know for sure so far, and the next part is purely my opinion, and as always, add in your own game knowledge and you may see something that I've completely missed. Given how much we pay for just the smallest boosts in the game, it's highly likely that if done correctly, and it's a big if, this could achieve what Jagex are looking to do and essentially create items so in demand the profit can be split between 5 skills and make every single one of them profitable. That being said, they have to get it right. There will also probably be a bunch of items not even mentioned so far that will also be required for the skill that we'll only know about on the day, such as potentially jugs of water for example, as they put in this diagram, or items in other skills. What is clear though is that there are so many items within this update there should be plenty of money for us all to make who are aware of it. Lastly, this week we have the Scythe, Tumican Shadow and Twisted Bow. These 3 weapons are having completely different times, all because of Desert Treasure 2, which is out in a few months' time. The Scythe and the Twisted Bow have been going up in price a lot because with Desert Treasure 2 comes 4 new bosses, and since these weapons are frequently best in slot against a lot of bosses, people are of course investing in them. But if you're thinking about buying one, you may want to know that a lot of investors aren't buying with the aim of using them or even selling them after the release. They buy these items expecting the price to go up and buy months before release, but they understand the game. They're all expecting a crash at some point, but hold out as long as possible before they sell to maximize their profits. As soon as the price drops, lots of them will sell and the price collapses like a pack of cards. Because this can happen anytime from 1 month before a release to just after the release date, it's very difficult to predict the timing of. The Tumican Shadow, as discussed last time, will be extremely volatile in price for the next few months, and it is proving to be the case. These huge dips in price are normally followed by a recovery where you can make a quick 50 to 100 million GP. But the general trend is that this item is going down in price, meaning there's always that chance that it never recovers. That very same update that's causing these massive price rises in the Scythe and the T-Bow is causing a crash in the Shadow for 2 reasons. This new mage armor that's being released only gives boosts when using Ancients, and the Tumican Shadow has a built-in spell, so can't be used on Ancients. However, this is actually irrelevant because all of the best mage single target DPS in the game is from weapons with a built-in spell or on the standard spellbook using a Tomb of Fire. Even with the new upgraded weapons and the new armor that is being released with Desert Treasure 2, they don't even get close to the single target DPS that the Shadow can do. The second point though is very relevant, as when you are releasing 4 new bosses which boost your DPS on Ancients, if any of them are weak to magic, surely Jagex makes them weak to Ancients, right? All of this simply means a lack of confidence in the Shadow, but it's still the best weapon in the game and best in slot against more bosses than any other weapon. It's actually coming to the point where I'm very tempted to buy my Shadow back, but whilst this could be an overreaction in the market, the Tombs of a Massacre is farmed like crazy, and one of the other best weapons in the game, the Fang, is just 30 million GP simply because of that. Whilst the Shadow is a lot rarer to get, there will come a point where it crashes purely because of how many are being brought into the game. Add to that market forces are doing the opposite and are far more important than the opinion of some guy on YouTube. As always, any predictions that I do are purely just my opinion and they won't always be correct. I would love to know your thoughts on many of these things because right now everything seems to be on a little bit of a knife edge and could go either way, so I'd love your feedback.